So this is actually pretty crazy. So Amazon had really tried putting up some bots on Twitter to basically defend themselves and their public image, because Amazon is sort of the picture image that comes into most people's heads, or what they see when they talk about a monopoly or a company that treats their workers like complete dog shit. And the main one that comes up is the fact that a lot of workers had to pee in bottles to be able to make their shifts and their deliveries. They didn't have time to use the bathroom. Essentially, a sort of deprivation of just basic human dignity to be able to use the restroom. And so Amazon News, this Twitter account, has totally gone to war at Bernie Sanders, and is directly as a result of Bernie Sanders. Just yesterday or a couple days ago, he was stumping with Amazon workers in Alabama, fighting for their right to unionize. Okay, unionization is probably the most important thing, period. Collective bargaining gives employees power to balance themselves out against big corporations and shareholders. So check out this tweet. It says, "There's a big difference between talk and action. Senator Sanders has been a powerful politician in Vermont for 30 years, and their minimum wage is still $11.75. Amazon's is $15, plus great health care from day one. Sanders would rather talk in Alabama than act in Vermont." So first of all, him doing the unionization thing in Alabama isn't a thing that's solely for Alabama. It's an overall countrywide thing. He's pro-unionization countrywide, and fighting for unionization in Alabama effectively fights for unionization all over the nation. So that's a dumb idea. Also, Bernie Sanders has not been in the state government in Vermont for, I think, decades now. I mean, what did he enter the House in, like 2006 or something like that? The Federal House of Representatives. So just so you guys know, there's a federal government, there's a state government, and then there's a local government, right? This delineation of power, government 101 in the United States. It's actually a really good aspect, in my opinion. I like the delineation of power. But essentially what this means is the state government has its own legislature, it has its own government, it has its own House, its own Senate. Bernie Sanders is part of the federal Senate. Previous to that, he was part of the federal House of Representatives. Not only do they not determine what a state or local government's policies are, it's actually looked down upon if you are to attempt to send federal resources more towards your state rather than others. It's called unrelated pork barrel spending. So that's actually looked down upon. So it's just total bullshit, obviously. Again, Bernie Sanders has not been in Vermont's legislature in a long time. If he, honestly, I don't even know where he was. I think he was mayor of Burlington, and I don't know if he had moved into like the state Senate or House. I can't even remember right now. But also what they leave out between the whole difference between talk and action thing. First of all, talking in a lot of situations is action. So Bernie Sanders going out and stumping for union workers, fighting for union workers, that's action, and he's talking. And how we know it's action? It's because you are reacting, right? You are reacting. That's how we know it's action. All of a sudden, he starts stumping for these union workers, and now here you are on a hell-bent warpath against Bernie Sanders. I wonder why. Also, do you guys remember the Stop Bezos Act? Do you remember what that was? So the Stop Bezos Act, what it did was, because something you guys may not know, you know what businesses are always at the top of the list of employees who receive government benefits? Amazon, Walmart, these kinds of corporations, McDonald's. These are the large multinational corporations, and yet somehow they're always on the highest end of employees who are receiving government benefits. So essentially what their dog shit wages are doing is they're being subsidized by you, by the taxpayer. You're subsidizing them paying slave wages because they are so poor they qualify for SNAP benefits, for food stamps, for welfare benefits, for all of these different things, Medicaid. They qualify for all these things that's directly costing you money out of your tax dollars. And so they get to pay their employees garbage wages, and then you pay for it. You split the difference. You pay the difference. It's crazy. So what that would have done, the Stop Bezos Act would have done is it would have forced businesses like Amazon to pay all the money back that the government paid in assistance for those employees. And so Jeff Bezos, after that happened, he did this like 30 days later, where he raised the wage to $15. And, he said that he listened to the critics and all of that stuff. So it's very clear in connection with that. That's the whole reason why he did this. This here, it says, top Amazon official swipes at Bernie Sanders over planned Alabama visit. So this is really cutting them deep, man. And honestly, when it comes to a corporation and a business, it seems that the thing that really hurts them the most, and we're seeing this fight even with Elon Musk and all of these people, it's their workers unionizing, man. Corporations seem to hate nothing more than their workers unionizing. That is really what it appears to be. And so Bernie Sanders responded to this. He said, I look forward to meeting with Amazon workers in Alabama on Friday. All I want to know is why the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, is spending millions trying to prevent workers from organizing a union so they can negotiate for better wages, benefits, and working conditions. That's a good fucking question. That's a really, really good question. Why is it that you are trying so hard to obstruct workers from being able to unionize and form a collective bargaining group? Why is that? Is it because it's going to give them real power and you're afraid and you don't want your workers to have that power? That seems to be the logical conclusion, don't you think? This guy, Dave Clark, he is, I think, he's that guy, I think, right? I think this is him. He says, all we want to know is why the senator is one of the most powerful polls in VT for 30 plus years, and their minimum wage is still only $11.75. Amazon's minimum wage is $15 plus great healthcare from day one. The senator should save his finger-wagging lecture until after he actually delivers in his own backyard. So again, he's not in the state legislature. He is a federal legislature member. So he dictates federal policy, not state policy. That's not what he does. Okay, so it's not his job at all. But hold on a second. Do you see this tweet? Doesn't this seem kind of familiar? Huh. Wait a second. That's the same tweet as this sent out with some very minor changes. So either that means this guy is the dude who's like writing all this stuff, or he's the guy sending it out on this account, or somebody at Amazon writes these tweets and then the people just send it out. Nobody really knows. Amazon was on Twitter really calling out the stories about their workers having to pee in bottles. And Ro Khanna responded saying, how ironic to now brag about paying $15 when we know Amazon did that in direct response to Bernie Sanders and my Stop Bezos Act, as Bezos himself suggested in a tweet. That's true. Not sure what's more incompetent, your treatment of Alabama workers or your PR. So Amazon is clearly on this warpath, and it really just goes to show me these businesses hate nothing more than when workers unionize. And that makes unionization, that tells me unionization is the most important thing out of literally anything. In fact, unionization really can and may even be more important than minimum wage laws. Like, for example, in the Nordic countries, they don't even have minimum wage laws. It's just underwritten minimum wages because they have fierce-ass unions. And here's a really hilarious story that made me feel so good. McDonald's was branching out to, I think it was Denmark. It was one of those Nordic countries. I forgot which one. Denmark, Norway, Finland, or whatever. And they went in there, and they weren't complying with what the unions were demanding. And so the workers went on strike, but, they fired them all. They said, we're done with you. We're going to continue. But the strike was so strong that they had to give in to what the unions were demanding. So they literally got fucked pretty much, and they had to give in. So they have a really, really, really strong unions. And just goes to show unionization might even be more important than minimum wage laws, which is pretty crazy. But that's essentially what's going on. Amazon really trying to go in on Bernie Sanders now, man. Goodness gracious.